want to begin first with your book, Genome to Om. Why Genome to Om?
Genome to Om is not about only genome. It's not about only Om. Genome represents modern science and Om represents the ancient wisdom. And the book discusses that there is now a time for modern science to take a pause.
It's time for modern science to take a pause. Could you elucidate that a little bit more?
Modern science made our life comfortable, but at the same time, it is also making our life miserable. And that is not the purpose of science. Purpose of science is
Mental health is a huge conversation.
mental health has emerged as a major problem globally, and in India it is growing because of the Western influence. We don't look at their serious discipline, commitments, but we'll take their food, we'll take their breaking family cultures.
Do you believe the IKS philosophy, the principles, the core knowledge can help in contributing to stand up to modern challenges?
We did not require the sustainable development goals because they are integrated in our part right from the beginning. Studying IKS, we might get mechanisms to get out of these modern evils. In Punjab, one district is known as Cancer District.
Yeah.
Why? Because purely by overuse of agrochemicals, the farmers and local society people, they have fallen prey to cancer.
Everybody is talking about AI. My question to you is, can artificial intelligence and machine learning play a role in advancing research on Ayurveda? Science and tradition are not opposing forces. They are two sides of the same coin. True progress lies in integrating the wisdom of the past with the possibilities of the future.
Look for the silver lining whenever a cloud appears in the blue.
Hello and welcome to Between Us. Make every conversation count. Today's episode is a very special episode because we kick off the IKS Indian Knowledge System series. And our first guest is Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, a distinguished biomedical scientist, educator and policy expert, known for his pioneering work in integrating IKS with modern scientific research. He has been a vice chairman of the University Grants Commission, a WHO advisor on traditional medicine, and I think his efforts to bridge ancient wisdom with contemporary scientific networks and frameworks is what we are going to talk about today. And I must say that his work extends beyond medicine and influencing how IKS is embedded with India's education system and policy frameworks. Dr. Patwardhan, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
I want to begin first with your book, which is actually sparking a lot of interest, Genome to Om. And if you could explain the convergence of modern science and spirituality. But before that, why Genome to Om?
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Very interesting question and very interesting beginning of this conversation. Genome to Om actually is not about only genome. It's not about only Om. Genome represents the modern science
Mm-hmm.
and Om represents the ancient wisdom.
Hmm.
And the books discusses that there is now a time
Okay.
for modern science to take a pause. And why I'm saying so is if you look at the history of this century also, by and large, modern science has been used to satisfy individual ego, my own greed, my own reputation, my own fame, my own aspiration, for profits, for businesses, and not that much for people or for nature, for that matter, And as a result, you see what is happening around us.
Right.
So, what is the purpose of science? Purpose of science is in search of truth.
Hmm.
So, we are raising these questions that are we really in the right trajectory?
Okay. You said it's time for modern science to take a pause. Could you elucidate that a little bit more?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the modern science progress is fantastic. It has made our life comfortable.
Correct.
But at the same time, it is also making our life miserable. And that is not the purpose of science. Purpose of science is universal well-being. Not only human well-being, it's a universal well-being. And to me, that's the question, whether science is really on that trajectory. We are saying that with the advances in science and technology today, for instance, we are in the situation where we are actually going to face very soon what we call it as fourth Big Bang. Modern science witnessed the first Big Bang by way of our own hypothesis, which is about the origin of universe. The second Big Bang we actually experienced when the first explosive was discovered, TNT, discovered by Alfred Nobel. And finally, what he had to do, he had to establish Nobel Prize for Peace. He himself was so unsatisfied with that invention, the way in which it was used for explosive, destructive purposes. The third Big Bang we all saw by way of Manhattan Project and recent movie Oppenheimer, in which we see that Oppenheimer finally, after doing all this, had to go back to Gita.
Yes.
So why this is happening? So that's the Oppenheimer coming to Gita is what we are talking about genome to om. We are saying that modern science will have to take a pause and take help of ancient wisdom to get back on the right track of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or a track of Sarve Santu Niramaya. That's the purpose of modern science.
Did you face any specific challenges when advocating for scientific validation of traditional medicine?
Yeah, there are many challenges actually. Primarily, these challenges come because there are epistemic differences between the two.
Okay.
If you look at modern science, modern science is based on Aristotelian logic, which believes that if you go on breaking things into smaller parts, you are able to study them in great more details. Which is true. So study of part is exciting. So modern science is essentially based on the molecules, atoms, and that stuff. As against traditional knowledge, their epistemology is different entirely. For example, Bharatiya Gyan Parampara, if you talk about Darshan Shastra, the epistemology is entirely different. For instance, Ayurveda epistemology is completely different than modern science, or modern medicine, which is reductionist. Modern medicine is reductionist. Ayurveda is holistic. Modern medicine is going to talk about the molecules and atoms, and Ayurveda will talk about Panchamahabhut. Ayurveda will talk about dosha. So there are basic differences of epistemology in these two, and that's where the challenges come in. We can't really study Ayurveda or yoga by using the same methodology, by same approach as we might study modern science, And the challenges come from that. When we, for instance, how do you really do research on something called prana? You can't. And modern science, most importantly, modern science is based on empiricism. So I am also trained modern science student. I study science, and we are taught that we have to believe in what we can measure, what we can see, what we cannot see, what we cannot measure. There are two streams. One stream says that what we cannot see, what we cannot measure, is not there. And many people even might go to the extent that, no, it's the blind faith. Andhashraddha. The second stream is, I don't know. And I belong to that stream. I say, I don't know. Just because I'm not able to measure it today, or just because I'm not able to see that today, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Today, my science has not reached to that stage. Tomorrow, it could be. And there are several such things you will see in the history, that things which were not possible at that time for science, today they are possible for that science. So science is ever evolving. So we should not close our mind. Any science student should not close our mind just because we are not able to see anything today, because the basis of that is our panchendriya.
I think it has a lot to do, sir, with looking inwards, getting to know who we are. I believe that when we look at the root of our traditional medicine or approach, there is a scientific process even in that. We tend to probably overlook that, or we tend to ignore that or dismiss that. To say that traditional medicine or traditional way of looking at things is not scientific, I don't think is that a fair statement? I don't think so.
No, it is not, because what is scientific? That is the question.
Hmm.
In my opinion, the term traditional also is not correct.
Exactly. I was about to ask you that.
Yeah, because traditional medicine, for instance, the term which was used by the colonial mindset, to show you that you are somebody who are inferior.
But if you look at it, traditional in many ways means going back to our core, going back to our roots.
Yeah, it is, but essentially there is a continuum of traditional and modern. Means if you ask me what is modernity, I will tell you that modernity is continuing tradition.
Yes. You're
Yesterday's
progressing.
tradition was today's
Yes.
today's modernity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we don't have to really differentiate these two and treat someone which is greater, higher, and someone which is lower like traditional. So I don't accept this kind of a argument saying that traditional just because of traditional knowledge. Today majority of our discoveries, if you see, they have roots in traditional knowledge. So why we are ignoring it?
True. You have a very unique trajectory, sir, from a researcher to a policymaker, that journey. If you could share one, how did that happen? Number one. The other part to that question is your experiences working with WHO, UGC, Niti Aayog, because I think in that journey, you were also able to shape in some form the IKS policy. So, if you could first, where did this, was it a natural progress from a researcher to a policy maker, or was it a conscious effort? Is that what you wanted to be, to shape policies or to be a part of it? Because doing research itself is not enough if it's not, you know, implemented in our way of life, then all of those researchers, they stay back in the shelves.
Yeah. No, I don't know how that trajectory unfolded, but unfolding is the term which I use deliberately. And I strongly believe that things unfold, and it's not a question whether you have a free will or not. These are some things which are, we are ultimately, as you said, internally we have to look at.
Yes.
So the way in which I would look at it is, I was a researcher, I was a student, I'm still a student. And as the research progresses, more we also know how less we know. And so in science, you will see that those people who have reached to the epitome of science, they have realized more the value of looking internally and importance of intuition in scientific discoveries.
Okay.
I must tell you that majority of the inventions in the world have not come only through laboratory experimentations. Laboratory experimentation is needed, but major inventions, breakthroughs, they have not come only through laboratory investigations. They have come through intuition. And I'll give you two examples for this. The first example I'll give you of a Westerner, because still we have that colonial mind, shaped by Macaulay, which tells us that what comes from West is true, good, better, and we must respect and accept it. So the first example I'm taking from Germany, a very famous self-taught mathematician, Carl Friedrich Gauss. Gauss theorem is taught in mathematics.
Yes.
He publicly admitted that he knew his theorems right from the beginning. Then he worked backwards to prove them. How did he know that? And the same story, now I'll give example of India. Our own Ramanujam. You would know that Ramanujam also has publicly accepted that he knew all his equations right in the beginning. And then he worked backward to prove them. From where they came? These are the questions we don't ask also. So my point is, science student has to have a curious mind.
Absolutely.
If we stop thinking, and frankly, I feel that today we are living in a thinking deficient society. We don't allow students to think. We are giving them so much, as a curriculum, as guides and as books and all that homework and assignments. Where is the time to think? Where is the originality coming in?
Right. And add to that AI, it's making it even more.
Good you reminded me about AI, because I talked about only 3 big bangs. The 4th big bang which is coming up is going to be a combination of AI, biotechnology and nanotechnology.
Yes.
If they 3 come together, and then think of it, if they go in wrong hands, what will happen?
Yes.
If you want just a glimpse of what is going to happen, you may have seen movies like Transformer. You may have seen movie like Lucy. So if
I will not be surprised if Lucy's already exist in today's world.
Yeah, actually, good you talked about Lucy, because that's one of my favorite movie actually.
Yeah.
No?
And if you look at what the kind of transformation she goes through.
Absolutely, and this is not new to us.
No.
Although in Lucy, Scarlett Johansson has done a fantastic job. She has acted so well in that movie. But the whole movie is a yogic movie, and they have not acknowledged also that it's a yogic movie.
Yeah.
As Sanatan Parampara, we don't believe in patenting. We don't believe in intellectual property. But it doesn't mean that anybody can come and exploit us.
Yes.
Matrix, which is another yogic movie, no acknowledgement. Matrix movie ends with Shanti Mantra. No acknowledgement. Coming back to Lucy, I'll tell you, Lucy is a science fiction, essentially. They have projected it as a science fiction. But is it a science fiction really? You go back to Patanjali and you go back to what siddhis are. Lucy is getting siddhis one after the other. One after the other, But these siddhis are the obstacles in your progress towards nirvana. They are the kind of candies which are given to you, so that you don't go on the ultimate liberation path.
True.
Now imagine, for getting siddhis, first of all, you have to work, you have to become eligible to get that siddhi. Then only you get siddhi. And you are expected not to use those siddhis. Now here, if you get siddhis, just because you have money to buy them, you can imagine what kind of disaster. That is shown in Lucy. In Lucy, the whole movie, it gives you a very, very scary picture of what is going to happen if science goes in the wrong hands or if science goes in the wrong direction. See, improving brain function, there are several ways to do it. meditation is one of the most powerful way to improve your mental functions, rather than putting some chip in your brain. Those are very, very dangerous paths, because we are charting in a very unknown kind of a area, and we don't know what outcomes are going to be. So the fourth Big Bang is just round the corner, I think, unless we really make that trajectory change of modern science by taking a pause, which I told you in the beginning. And this I talk about continuity of Gyan, Vigyan and Pragyan. So Vigyan has to go to Pragyan now. So in this we are using a term meta-science, because there is no good term for Pragyan. Meta-science is science of science. So modern science has to become little bit or transcend into meta-science for larger purpose, for a bigger cause.
Your journey or your role specifically as the IKS was being drafted, the entire knowledge system, and you are a part of the core committee when this whole NAP was being drafted, especially the IKS part of it. I'll get into that, but before that, for me and the audience here, I want you to give a very simple way of defining IKS, because there's been a lot of talk around IKS, Indian knowledge system. What does it actually mean?
Actually, there is no one definition of Indian knowledge system. And let me tell you, the term Indian also is not very fit for knowledge system of ours. Because when we talk about India, again this term is given by colonial regime, India is not something which is born in after 1947.
Yes.
So when we talk about India, people connect us to that time frame. And therefore, I am not very comfortable with, but still it is a global term. So people use it, that's fine. But it is actually Bharatiya Gyan Parampara.
Bharatiya Gyan Parampara.
Or Bharatiya Gyan Pranali, whatever you may
I think Pranali
like to
would
call
probably
it.
sound...
Pranali is much better.
Yeah.
Bharatiya Gyan Pranali is, our education used to have that in the beginning, which is compounding of 14 Vidya and 64 Kala.
Okay. 64 Kalas.
64 Kalas and 14 Vidyas. So at that time, knowledge and skills were together. Kalas are essentially skills.
Yes.
And these 14 are knowledge, broad or major knowledge sources, which could be Vedic knowledge sources, which could be non-Vedic knowledge sources, which could be opposing sources of knowledge, such as Charvaka, which could be opposing to Vedic knowledge sources, such as Jain and Buddhist. All this is part of our knowledge system. And that not only, I would say, only these 14 Vidya and 64 Kala, but in addition, huge development in knowledge happened in Bharat. For instance, Kalidasa, Bhrutahari. All these are also part of Bharatiya Gyan Parampara.
Somehow, when you spoke about Kalidas and you spoke about some of those stories, the immediate response or pushback that comes is, oh, that's from the past. How do you align them to today's modern way of living, thinking? How will our kids, be adapted? What's going to happen? How are they? But I know that all the things that we just spoke about, the skills and the knowledge, they are not confined to that era only. They are as much modern and futuristic. Am I correct in that assumption?
They are indeed, some of them might have got outdated. Many of them are still valid today, and many of them still waiting to come to surface. And so, my point to look at Bharatiya Gyan Pranali is we should not use that merely to glorify ourselves. That's what we are doing today.
Yes.
IKS inclusion in curriculum, one objective is obviously to know our heritage.
True.
Rich heritage.
True.
But that's not the only objective.
Hmm.
Because if we just go on beating our trumpet, what is going to happen? Well, we will go in a, what I would like to call it as self-pride and past glory syndrome.
Self-pride and past glory syndrome. Yes.
So the purpose of IKS is not to take you to self-pride and past glory syndrome, which is happening today. So now I see many people, and I also tell that, which is truth, Oh, this 2018 Nobel Prize, which was given to autophagy, it should have gone to Ayurveda because Upvas is in Ayurveda. But have you worked on Upvas? So our ancestors were great. There is no doubt about it. But are we great? We are not yet great. We have to work to become great. And that's how we should look at our IKS. IKS should be looked as source of innovation and not just to take pride and become complacent.
So true. Because unless we do that, we will always be talking about IKS as we've done this. What more? What next? Because it's not just about looking back. It should be able to help us move forward. And it should be embraced not just as a curriculum. I think it should be the foundation of our education system.
Correct. And IKS to me should be there practically in every discipline.
Correct.
IKS should not be one paper or something, one course or something like that, It could be just to introduce you, just to let people know what is the large spectrum of our knowledge system, But every discipline. Now you are economist. In economics, you will find such a rich source of knowledge in our own system. I am a biologist. I could find so much to learn from our own knowledge system.
Astronomy, for that matter.
Astronomy, practically any discipline. If you take, there is something to take from. And one example I'll give you. What changed me? I was working earlier as a Ayurveda researcher. So I was looking at Ayurveda as source of medicinal plants. And I used to look at Ayurveda as a discovery engine for creating new drugs.
Correct.
At one time, I realized that I am looking to Ayurveda in a myopic fashion. In a very limited perspective, only as a source of, for my own purpose, for my own interest. I'll get some medicinal plant, I will isolate some molecule, I will develop some drug, I'll get some fame. But is that Ayurveda truly? No. In 2000, I said that the real strength of Ayurveda is in basic concepts, not only in some medicinal plants. Medicinal plants are good, but that's not Ayurveda only. So Ayurveda concepts are best tested for understanding or renewing my own knowledge of biology. And so I hypothesized that Ayurveda is a personalized medicine in 2000. Remember, in 2000, Human Genome Project was on just horizon.
Yes.
It was not yet in that much in public domain. Personalized medicine term was also not being used at that time. But I said that Ayurveda is personalized medicine because Vaidya is giving you medicine which is designed for you.
Yes.
I said, what is this? How they are able to do this? This was the research question. As a researcher, we must ask questions. So this is the question we asked, and we hypothesized that Ayurveda is personalized medicine. Hypothesizing is not enough. For a researcher, we have to prove or disprove it. So because our group was working on rheumatoid arthritis, we chose a cohort of rheumatoid arthritis patients. And at that time, whole genome was not possible. 2002, 2003 we are talking about. So we could take only one gene. So we took one gene known as HRA-GRB1 gene. And that gene, we showed that the gene polymorphism, it's a genetic study, I will not go in details of it, But there are various alleles of every gene, and this gene also had alleles, and we could show that the distribution of these alleles of this gene was spread statistically differently in Vat, Pitta and Kapha in a blind study. For the first time, a solid modern scientific evidence was produced which supported our traditional knowledge. And that work was then published in international journals. It was also presented before Cold Spring Harbor Symposium on Pharmacogenomics, which is one of the top conferences in the world.
Yeah.
And now it's a multi-crore project. A new discipline has emerged known as Ayurgenomics. Imagine one small looking idea from Ayurveda, just one, out of more than 350 knowledge points, which we have pointed in Ayurveda on a map. Out of 250 knowledge points, only 1 point we have used of dosha. And a huge new branch has come out of that. This is the power of our knowledge and innovation.
In fact, I feel genome therapy and genome has actually contributed in a big way to dig deeper into solutions, or I would say dig deeper into treatments for cancer.
Yes.
And I strongly believe that it's only a matter of time before Ayurveda can be one of the most important treatment methodologies for cancer.
Absolutely, because Ayurveda don't look at cancer treatment as war against cancer.
Yes.
The allopathic way to look at cancer is war against cancer. Let's kill every cancer cell. And so we use chemotherapy, cytotoxic drugs. How do they work on cancer cells more? Because cancer cells rapidly grow and therefore these toxic chemicals rapidly attack them as compared to your normal cells. But in the process, your normal cells are also suffering. But Ayurveda don't say that. Ayurveda don't say that kill cancer cells only. Ayurveda say that strengthen your own cells. Strengthen your own immunity. Strengthen your own resistance power.
True.
Prepare your body in such a way that cancer cells cannot really grow in your body. So this is the more gentler, more natural and more powerful way to deal with
And
cancer.
also, I think, fixes it from the roots.
Yeah, it goes to the root cause, why it is causing.
Do you believe that, and this is also the first episode of our IKS series, so thank you again for kickstarting our IKS series. Do you believe that Indian knowledge systems can be seamlessly integrated into our higher education without, we discussed this, without reducing them to be just cultural artifacts?
Actually, what you said is the purpose of NEP. I guess in NEP is not to be understood as promotion of IKS in education system, but use IKS for further progress of your own discipline. Like what we could do in biology. Dr. M.S. Valyathan, who is my mentor, who is one of the top decorated scientists of India, he invented the first indigenous cardiac valve, cardiac surgeon. He created a new discipline called Ayurvedic biology. And I was the first recipient of that grant to study Ayurvedic biology, wherein we studied Vat, Pitta, Kapha and its genetic connotation. Later, by taking a huge population, 900 participants coming from different parts of India, and we did the whole genome sequencing. And we could see that there are specific gene signatures for Vata, for Kapha and for Pitta. Now you will realize that this kind of a knowledge is going to open up and expedite the genomic research in a major way.
In a major way, yeah.
Going towards the personalized or genomic medicine. To me, pure genomic way to personalized medicine is going to be very, very long haul. Because the data which is going to be created through all this, through bioinformatics, through gene sequencing, is so huge that you will get buried down under that data because you would not know what to do with this data. Ayurveda will tell you what to do with that data.
Going back to your tenure at UGC, um, could you share some of your breakthroughs and some of the challenges you faced?
The transition from researcher to policy making was kind of unfoldment. Um, I remember in 2017, UGC had come out with a list of journals, and UGC had said for every PhD you must publish 2 papers. And as a researcher, I was concerned about this policy, because 2 papers making it compulsory, people were tempted to publish as early as possible, desperately. And that gave rise to what we call it as predatory journals or predatory publishing. So you pay and you publish. So huge number of fake journals were created in the market, which made entry in UGC approved list in 2017. And we did one study on that. I was at Pune University at that time. And we showed that in the UGC approved list, 88% journals in that list were predatory. 88%. So you can see what disaster it must have caused. So that time I published that article in Current Science. And that was actually read by then Education Minister. And I was not hoping that who is criticizing government, government will invite that person to look at seriously to fix this problem. So I was invited to UGC. And when I became vice chairman of the UGC, my first task was curbing this predatory journal. So we created Consortium for Academic Research Ethics, CARE, UGC CARE.
Contrary to the noises around, I'm not surprised that you were invited, because I think there is a lot of initiatives by the government where they really want to listen and understand. And I think that you must have got tremendous amount of support, because NEP in itself, despite all the noises around, is a revolutionary step.
Yeah, it is. NEP actually, I would say that it's the first policy of Bharat.
Yes. Completely agree, sir.
And NEP, I was fortunate to work closely with Dr. Kasturi Rangan, who again has been my mentor. And the way in which you will see that policy has emerged, is fantastic. But also I am at the same time concerned that policy which was presented in 2019 even is waiting for formal approval in 2025. So any policy is as good as it is implemented. You know that, you know. So this is a matter of concern,
Well, I'm hopeful that as we move forward, the implementation.
But I'm happy that some of the states already have started it, because education is a subject of state also.
I think, as an educator, I'd like to ask you, but my personal opinion is it should always be left to the states. I mean, with center being more of an oversight, because that's how it should function.
Yeah, it should be decentralized.
Yeah.
But then what happens is, a country like us, there has to be a centralized some policy. And that's the purpose NEP really served very, very efficiently. One of the unique feature of NEP is IKS.
Yes. Coming to that, for me personally, as a citizen, and I say as a human being, one of the most pressing problems today is climate. And I think as a culture, Bharat has been propagating and living a sustainable way of life for a very long time. Now, when we talk about the knowledge systems, we talk about Indian knowledge system, we talk about our inherent strengths, weaknesses. This is a personal question, probably a question for all the kids who are listening in, is how do you think the IKS principles can really contribute to climate resilience, sustainability, even for that matter, we to a large section we're also an agricultural based society. I mean, I think uh, because Bharat still lives in the heart of the country. It's not these 3, 4, 5 metro cities. Uh, do you believe the IKS philosophy, the principles, the core knowledge can help in contributing to stand up to modern challenges?
Yes, I think so, because our knowledge system have always been nature friendly.
Hmm. Hmm.
Always been.
Haha.
We did not require the sustainable development goals because they are integrated in our part right from the beginning. Agriculture you talked about. Our entire agriculture was based on completely organic agriculture. There were no fertilizers, or there were no, whatever we were using were all natural processes.
Hmm. Hmm.
There was huge biodiversity of every grain in our country. Even in rice, you will find that thousands of different rice varieties even today exist, although many may have gone now extinct.
Hmm. Hmm.
We always have respected the relation between uh, animals and human beings, and plants and nature. So one health, which is the today's concept, zoonosis concept, was integrated within us right from the beginning. With Gomata, why we revered cow, because it was part of our own culture. Cow was part of our own family, and this is how the sustainability principles of today are trying to get us back to our own roots.
Hmm.
So I would say, studying IKS, we might get mechanisms, to get out of these modern evils, I would call. Because these are really evils, modern evils, the way in which chemicals are used in agriculture. In Punjab, one district is known as Cancer District.
Yeah.
Why? Because purely by overuse of agrochemicals, the farmers and local society people, they have fallen prey to cancer. And same is happening in many cases. Today, in country like India also, we are facing on one side malnutrition, on other side overnutrition. So why all this is happening? All this is happening is because we have lost our own lifestyle. We have lost our own food. We have lost our own practices also, and we have taken something which doesn't belong to us. So why we should have oats? Tell me, when we have such a great range of different millets.
Yes.
Miss, I don't understand. So changing this mindset. Today our mindset is Macaulayan influence mindset. So we have to get out of that. We have to decolonize our mind. And to do that, IKS will play a major role. And that is one of the objective of bringing IKS in education system. But I also must tell you that IKS in higher education is little late.
I would say middle school.
School, right from the school, it must come in. Because by the time somebody comes to college, I am a higher education person, So by the time students come to us, their mind is already framed, So it is very difficult to change. So we have to start really right from the early stages, Right?
If I could give you a follow-up questions on what we discussed. So how do we balance academic freedom with scientific validation when teaching traditional knowledge in universities?
See, academic freedom, I would say that we don't use academic freedom in the right spirit.
Okay.
Academic freedom is not the way I want. Because if we consider academic freedom as the way I want, then the chemist might say that I will go and work in my lab and produce narcotics, which are cheaper,
Huh?
or I will go in my lab and use my chemistry skills to create more and more explosives. Is this the purpose of chemistry research? No. Chemistry research should lead to something which will help in betterment of nature. Chemistry will advancement should help to get safer and better treatments for me. So academic freedom has to be used responsibly. And Indian knowledge systems actually, if we are living in India, if I am working in a public institution, or for that matter, even private institution, but more so public institution, I am getting my salary from taxpayers' money. I am in India. I am in Bharat. I may be researcher in physics or researcher in chemistry or researcher in astronomy or astrophysics or a researcher in medicine. Is it not my moral responsibility to look at my own knowledge system, my own culture? So if I turn blind eye to all that and follow only Western models of research, then why am I in India? Why I am taking money from public money? What I am doing actually for my own culture, for my own people, for my own country? Are we asking these questions? Whose responsibility is it? Now, many times people criticize Ayurvedic Vaidya, and I feel really bad about it. They ask Ayurvedic Vaidya, what research you are doing? All Ayurveda is humbug. All Ayurveda is this. Who are you to tell this? And why you are asking question to Ayurvedic Vaidya? Ayurvedic Vaidya's responsibility is to do good Ayurvedic practice. Good Ayurvedic medicines. Not necessarily. Whose research responsibility is this? Those who are working in national laboratories. They should be able to do this research on Ayurveda. So, chemist working in National Chemical Laboratory should give at least some part of his or her time for research on Ayurveda.
True.
I had written an editorial in Current Science. Current Science is one of the top journals in India, published by Indian Institute of Science, Academy of Science. So their editorial, I had written this and I raised these questions and I had requested that I actually said that it is our fiduciary responsibility to look at Indian knowledge systems from research point of view. And not only for the cause, because they are Indian knowledge system, but for your own purpose, because they will give you new clues, they will give you new innovation path to regain that scientific leadership. Because where is scientific leadership in India? How many Nobel Prizes we have got in India? And why not? After C.V. Raman and maybe some Indian origin, but those who have got out. Why Indian genes expressed only in the West? Why not in India?
And the last two Nobel laureates who have come, one was back in 98 when Amartya Sen got, and then the recent one, I think few years back, again in the field of, I think it was economics, if I understand correctly.
No, but these are, again, that's what I said, that why their genes express only when they go out of India.
Yeah, well.
They may be Indian origin.
Yes, that's true.
Even the Google CEO or other top guys, they could go and excel when they went out of India.
I have this question, sir. Look at institutions today, any of the academic institution. How do you think they can ensure that there is rigorous research and academic credibility while they embed IKS into STEM or medical education?
Yeah. So STEM, you use this term STEM. Again, I will tell you that STEM is a term typically which has come from America. And that has come because at one point they realized that their kids are not doing well. And Indian kids are doing well. Why they are doing well? Because Indian kids are much better in mathematics and other such subjects, where they are failing. Therefore, their focus went on STEM. when it comes to India as STEM, with requirements which are there in America, it is not correct. We should really look at the education system from our point of view. Our point of view, the education has to be holistic.
Hmm.
Why we are giving so much of glamour only to STEM and not give any importance to those who are really learning arts and social sciences and humanities or languages? Why not? Why are I must tell you that this is a concern that in India, on one side, we are growing and more investing, which is good. I'm not saying we should not do it. Investing in IITs, in IIMs, in AIMS, in NIPERS, in ICERS, not a single national institute for humanities. Is it a good sign for country?
No.
That's what we have addressed in new education policy. That humanities also should be given equal importance, because we don't want to create a right brain shrink community.
And that's where I think I get where you came from as far as STEM is concerned. But I think the introduction of STEAM made a little bit of difference because arts and humanities form the core. I wanted to also understand when we're talking about some of the challenges, we spoke about climate resilience, sustainability, mental health is a huge
Yes.
conversation, and I think it's a conversation which probably got a lot more impetus post COVID. I mean, when we were challenged. Although I think it has been a challenge for a very long time. I was having this conversation and with another gentleman while we were discussing around IKS and our Indian family value system, where she was talking to me about how our joint family systems, where there was not just one member, you had a larger support base to have genuine conversations with, which in many ways probably ensured that the kind of mental health challenges which came in modern society, had if we would follow some of those value system, would help. That was just a way of looking at it. Two-pronged questions. One, when we talk about Ayurveda, do Ayurvedic practices help in probably mitigating mental health challenges? And if you were to look at it from our larger Indian knowledge systems, do you think there is a solution to it?
Yeah, no, good question. Mental health has emerged as a major problem globally. And in India, it is growing, unfortunately, again, because of the Western influence, I would say. And we have a tendency to follow the West by forgetting a good part of that culture. So we don't look at their serious discipline, commitments, honesty, law abidiness. That we will not. But we'll take their food, we'll take their breaking family cultures, all that. You will be surprised that the many countries are on the verge of breaking, actually, because of the mental health issues, which we are so strong in our own family structure, our own support systems. Our country is extremely strong in all these. But we are weakening it by adopting the unwanted elements of those Western cultures. I'll give you example from America again. For the same reason, I'm giving you the example from West. CDC, which is known as the largest research conglomeration in the US.
Yes, it is based in Atlanta.
Atlanta. You were in Atlanta.
Yes, yes.
So CDC Atlanta published a very scary report last year. That report was a report on school girls on America. Now remember, studies coming from CDC. So it's a serious study, scientific study. It's not some NGO, you know. What was the outcome of that study? They studied school children, school girls. 60% of the school girls in America are finding their life hopeless. 60% of the girls. More than 50% of the girls have tried one or the other substance abuse. More than 30% of the girls have attempted suicide.
Yeah.
Now, developed country, rich country. So, richness is not only in money, you know. That's what we have to understand. And that's what our own culture has taught us, you know.
Do you, how do you think, how important to you? So let me put it this way. I think we all seek scientific validation, and there are times it's important, I understand. But if you were to look at Ayurveda, because it's a holistic, form of medication, how do you ensure scientific validation of Ayurvedic treatments while respecting their holistic nature?
Yeah. See, you will have to find out new methodologies to study sciences like Ayurveda. Because you use term holistic, but are we really studying them from holistic point of view is a question. You are taking some Ayurvedic medicine and you are doing some clinical trial or some animal studies, you know. But whether those studies are giving you the right models to study that is a question. And we have enough evidence to show that if you don't use Ayurvedic medicines by way in the same way as Ayurveda is using, then you may not get results. You know, so we are now bringing in research which we call it as whole system research. So our clinical trials also must adopt a new model as whole system model. So not just one medicine, but Ayurveda Vaidya is giving you medicine, but before that, that Vaidya is also telling you Pathya Apatya. That Vaidya is telling you diet restrictions. That Vaidya is telling you to do some yoga or some meditation. That Vaidya is telling you to do some purification by way of Panchakarma. So it's a whole system. It's a package. It's not just one pill. So that change in methodology, unless we built in, the studying Ayurveda like holistic health system will be completely unscientific and incomplete also.
So I have two-part question for you, sir. One is, of course, that what lessons can modern pharmaceuticals learn from Ayurveda's patient-centric personalized approach? That's one part of it. And the other part of that question is, because I feel it's a lead-up question, is how is it that quantum biology and consciousness research validating Ayurvedic principles?
Yeah. Your first question is about what pharmaceutical industries can learn from Ayurveda. Earlier, when pharmaceutical research was evolving, if you go back in history, till even recently, we used to believe that same medicine will apply to everyone, you know. So if you have headache, you just give aspirin and that is fine, you know. But as we progressed and as the knowledge of genetics evolved, we realized that that's not true.
Okay.
The medicine, how they will work in your body will depend on your genetic makeup. That's what Ayurvedic Prakriti is about, you know. So, for instance, if you give aspirin to somebody, you know, who says of Kapha Prakriti, that dose may not be sufficient for him. If you give the same dose of aspirin to Pitta Prakriti, it may cause acidity and ulcers to him. And maybe for Vata Prakriti, that dose may be good. So now we know that we have to design medicine as per your genetic makeup, you know, which is personalized medicine. And Ayurveda is personalized medicine. Like Vaidya is designing that pudi or mixture for you. You know, with same symptoms as somebody else come, he or she may not give the same medicine because your body is different. That aspect was missing in modern medicine. One shoe fits all. That was the approach, of modern medicine, which now they have understood that it is not true. So it all started with cancer first. First time there were 3 genetic subtypes of cancer were identified, and 3 different medicines for each of those subsets were prescribed. And now pharmacogenomics, a new branch has emerged, which talks about how you can design medicine specifically for individuals, individualized medicine, customized medicine, designer medicine, personalized medicine, P3, P4, P5 medicine. All these terms are coming up now in science, and pharmaceutical industries are responding to it now. Second important change which has happened in pharmaceutical industry is at the top level of pharma industry. I'm not talking about the mediocre pharmaceutical industry which goes on only manufacturing generic drugs or just repeating whatever, but the discovery companies, major companies which come out with top 10 companies, you will find that they have changed their strategies slowly because they have realized that my business cannot be sustainable by making people more and more sick. See, pharmaceutical business will flourish when more and more people will fall sick. But I cannot imagine that my business will be sustainable only because of that. It's an unsustainable model. So my model should be based on something which will help people to remain healthy. So many pharmaceutical industries, you will find that their focus is now changed to strengthening immunity, to controlling inflammation, which is root cause of many diseases. So immunity and inflammation have come at the center stage now. Mental health problems, stress-related issues, these are becoming the hot targets, And many pharmaceutical industries actually have also realized that it is not practical to invent a magic pill for complex diseases, for polygenic diseases such as diabetes. Diabetes is a metabolic disease. You cannot imagine that somebody will invent one magic drug and it will cure diabetes. It is not going to happen. Because diabetes, there is huge amount of data now available that diabetes can be best managed by lifestyle modification and by diet, not only by medicine. So this awakening has come in pharmaceutical industry. And so you will find that many top industries have gone more in nutritional supplements, more in prevention, So this is a good change which is happening. Earlier, the prevention focus was not there at all, But now you will see that many pharma industries have their divisions now of health supplements, of health foods, and this lesson is changing the outlook of pharmaceutical industry from a narrow-minded, single-target treatment approach to multi-target, from one molecule to formulation, from just cure to prevention. I think this is a good sign which is happening.
Absolutely.
Second question is about your quantum biology. See, this field is yet not much understood. Quantum science also is evolving. Computers or quantum computers is also the field which is evolving. So quantum biology field as such is very, very, I would say, in a very early stage understanding. But IKS has a major role to play here, because many of the concepts which are there in our Shastra, can give you lead for advancing quantum biology like fields. And you will find that research is now cutting edge research. Unfortunately, it is happening mostly outside India. But which are the major frontiers of research, if you ask me? I'll tell you, in biology, frontiers of research are coming in neurology, neurological sciences, psychoneuroendocrinological sciences, because we are forgetting that mind has the huge power to heal our body. That's the natural power to heal our body. We have outsourced this to doctors. Doctors are there to treat you when you are falling ill. But my body, to keep it healthy, it is my responsibility.
Absolutely.
I cannot outsource that responsibility to somebody else. So we are forgetting that, And Ayurveda and yoga, they are the major players which are emerging in global level for disease prevention, health promotion. For instance, you will find at top laboratories like Harvard, they are now talking about mind-body medicine. And mind-body medicine name may be different, but that is what Ayurveda and yoga is about.
Absolutely.
And you may talk about a huge amount of research is happening in the field called mindfulness. In Harvard, you will see that mindfulness is a buzzword now, and many universities are.
It's a buzzword across.
Yeah. But what is mindfulness? Mindfulness, if you look at mindfulness, they are actually talking the same language of yoga.
Yes.
The same language of meditation, the same language of vipassana. But they are giving some different names, they are probably.
So, good you brought up those 2 points. Ayurveda and yoga obviously have gained global recognition now. What's the next frontier in traditional medicine research?
Research is going to come through the mind-body interactions.
Okay.
That's the next frontier which is coming up.
You share a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'll give you 1 or 2 examples. Some years back, Nature published an article called "Out of Body Experience." And when Nature published that out of body experience, everybody said, "Wow, what a fantastic science which is emerging." But what is out of body experience? You are able to see your body by taking your mind outside your body, mind or your spirit or soul, whatever you want to call it as. But actually, people have been able to see their body from outside. Now, is it different from what Patanjali is talking about samadhi? It is samadhi is much more profound actually. It is not just out of body experience. True. But when Patanjali talks about samadhi, we say it is buabaji. And when Nature publishes article on out of body, we say it's a great science. So we have to look at our own knowledge sources from curiosity point of view. That is my point. The consciousness related research is coming up very, very well in the West. One example I'll give you. One of the top researcher known as Candace Pert. Candace Pert wrote a fantastic book called Molecules of Emotion.
Yes.
And Candace Pert is the scientist who discovered opiate receptor. One of the top-notch neuroscientists. She was director of NIH Institute at that time. She was nominated for Nobel Prize, but her male boss tried to steal her credit and she revolted. She resigned. She fought back. She could not get Nobel Prize that time. When you are in little bit stressed condition, then you realize to look internally. That's what she must have done. So during that stressful period, she started meditation. And then during her last phase of life, she was completely dedicated to understanding the bridge between science and spirituality. And in her book called Molecules of Emotion, if you tell me to distill that book into one sentence, she has not written this sentence. But I am telling you the distillate of that 400-page book in one sentence. Candace Pert is telling that one day will come when we may not require physical medicine to take inside our body to heal. You will sit, you will meditate, and you will order, and your body will secrete. No, as a drug researcher, I must tell you that drugs don't cure symptoms. Drugs attack some target, biological target in your body tissues and they trigger certain chemical reactions.
True.
And finally, those chemical reactions help you to get rid of symptoms. For example, if you have blood pressure, doctors may give you beta blocker. What beta blocker will do? Beta blocker will block your beta receptors, and reduce the heart output. Simple terms. So beta blocker drug is actually blocking that receptor and inducing some kind of a biological reaction. Now imagine if those chemicals your body is able to secrete on its own without any drug. Why do you need drug? And therefore, I trust what Candace Pert is telling. And Candace Pert is not some Baba or some Swami or anything of that. She is a top-notch scientist. She is telling you this. This is the power of mind. And that power of mind, how to unlock the power of mind, that is what yoga teaches you. And Ayurveda prepares your body to do yoga in a better way. So yoga and Ayurveda, they go together. And with that, they use the term swasth. Not arogya also. Not health also. Because health is connected with healing. Arogya is connected with roga. Swasthya. Swasthya is such a fantastic and profound term. Swayam mein sthit. If you are blissful within, what more you want?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And definition of swasthya in Ayurveda is also very interesting. That is the best definition I have ever seen. Not WHO definition of health also. Ayurveda definition of swasthya is prasanna atmendriya manaha.
Prasanna Atmendriya Manaha.
Bliss at the level of body, mind and spirit
Absolutely.
or soul.
So, very exciting, interesting conversation. But we before we go to the final segment, I have one question because this is as everybody is talking about AI. My question to you is: can artificial intelligence and machine learning play a role in advancing research on Ayurveda?
Yes, it will. In fact, we have created one very interesting chart which I can share with you and you can show to your viewers. It is called a Systems Ayurveda chart. It's a logic chart. And we have taken out 230 knowledge points from Ayurveda, Charak, Sushrut, Vagbhat and Madhav Nidan. And we have connected them in forward, backward linkages with color codes.
Okay.
Similar to what metabolic charts you will see in any of the laboratories, This is called as Nature Biotechnology Graphical Notation Methodology, which trusts that complex of the complex things can be simplified by using graphical notations. So we have used that methodology for Ayurveda. And you will see that chart. On that chart, you can literally spend hours to know about Ayurvedic nuances. It is not possible for human mind, to remember the vastness of Ayurvedic knowledge today. So what we did, with help of CDAC, Center for Advanced Computing, Government of India's initiative, CDAC in Pune and Pune University, we developed a project which was supported by Ministry of Information Technology, wherein we have developed a new software called AyuSoft, where we have captured the logic of Ayurveda in decision support system. Question-based approach. So you can have question and that software will give you answer, especially Vaidya. Vaidya wouldn't know every detail which is told by Charak, Sushrut or Vagbhat. These are the Bruhatraid in Ayurveda, So this software helps you to do that. This was the first beginning of using kind of a low-level AI, I would say, for Ayurveda. Now, with the AI advanced stage and Ayurveda's logic, if they come together, that is the prescription or frontier for personalized medicine. Imagine Ayurvedic Vaidya taking pulse and telling your entire history. You will find that Ayurvedic Vaidya actually can tell you 6 months back, oh, you had your problem in your abdomen 6 months back, you had some pain. Or he can also, or she can also tell you, you had some spine problem, you have difficulty in breathing, or you have some memory problem. How do they know just by looking at pulse? So Nadi Vignan at one time was excellently developed, So there is a now software a friend of mine has prepared in collaboration with IIT Powai. And that electronic gadget actually can do the pulse reading, and based on that pulse reading can diagnose what kind of problems you might have and solution to that. So these are just few examples of possible applications of AI in Ayurveda and yoga, understanding that. But these are just the beginning. With the real AI coming in, and the powerful logic of yoga and Ayurveda coming together, I think that is going to be the ultimate for the holistic, personalized future of medicine.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to it, sir. We all are looking forward to it. Thank you so much, sir. We now move to the final segment of our podcast. We call it rapid fire. We'll keep it very, so the answers have to be also rapid from your end. We begin with the first segment of rapid fire, this or that. Research or policy?
Research.
Ancient texts or modern scientific studies?
Both.
Education reform or healthcare innovation?
Both are part of each other.
Ayurveda or yoga, what will have the bigger global impact?
Again, both.
Traditional knowledge or emerging technologies?
Your questions are giving me answer both, because there is no either or here.
Huh.
We have to have traditional knowledge, and we have to take traditional knowledge with advancing technologies.
Okay. If you could change one education policy in India related to IKS, what would it be?
IKS for innovation.
Okay. What's the biggest misconception about Ayurveda that you wish people would stop believing?
Misconception of Ayurveda is ancient and history. It is not. Ayurveda is future.
Okay. Which ancient Indian scholar's work do you think deserves more attention today?
Patanjali. Panini.
Yes, Panini, of course. If IKS had to be summed up in one universal principle, what would it be?
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Okay. We move to the final segment of the rapid fire. This is a little fun. If you could have a dinner conversation with any historical Indian figure, who would it be?
Historical Indian figure, I would converse with Charaka.
Okay. What's the most intriguing yet under-researched Ayurvedic concept you have come across?
It's a concept of ama.
Okay. And if you could share something about it?
Ama is something which is, from Ayurvedic point of view, or rather than ama, I'll replace ama with Agni.
Okay.
Agni is internal fire. It could be digestive fire, but there are several types of Agni. I think that one of the future Nobel Prize will go to concept of Agni.
Okay. That's a very important statement. If you had to pitch Ayurveda to a skeptical Western scientist, how would you do it in one sentence?
Ayurveda in one sentence to skeptical scientists, No, because skeptical scientists, I would skip this question. I am not able to structure
no
it.
problem.
In my
We'll take
mind.
it out. If you were to write a memoir for yourself, what would the title be?
Title will be Genome to Om.
Okay. Are you saying Jinon to Om is your memoir?
Yes.
Okay. Final question. If Ayurveda had a tagline for the 21st century, what would it be?
Future of medicine.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for your time. There's so much more to be covered. Hopefully, we'll do it in another podcast. Um, Once again, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience. I think, and I think all of us will agree that um, India today is at a crucial juncture in defining the role of Indian knowledge system. Uh, in education, in healthcare, in sustainability. Uh, my take from this conversation has been that if we can marry traditional wisdom with modern research methodologies, I think we have the potential to revolutionize all of our modern challenges, whether it's healthcare, climate action, interdisciplinary education. I think you are continuing to provide a roadmap so that we can harness our intellectual heritage to really become a knowledge driven economy. So, thank you for all of the work, sir. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. For me, it was a great learning.
Thank you very much. I'll just add one last thing,
Sure.
because your last question was about that. So I want to tell you that we look at science fiction. Lucy, we talked about. So if yesterday's science fiction has become today's reality, and there are many, many, many
Oh, absolutely.
examples of that. I
Absolutely.
don't want to go. Why can't we look at our own knowledge system, or even for that matter, if we call them as epics also, Rama and Mahabharata, as sources of innovation?
Absolutely.
What people might have thought and imagined that time. I'm not saying whether our ancestors were flying in aeroplanes. That's a different question altogether. We don't know whether that's true or not.
Yeah.
But imagining aeroplane 10,000 years ago, isn't it amazing?
True.
I was not knowing several things, Brahmastra. Coining that name itself is not amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that there are such hundreds of ideas sitting idle in our knowledge systems, waiting for researchers to look at them with curiosity and take them to the next level to regain the lost scientific and thought leadership which at one time India was providing to the world.
That is so wonderfully put, sir. Thank you so much once again. That was Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan. He is, I'm sure he's on his way to revolutionize our Indian culture, Indian knowledge systems, and marrying them to, going back to our culture and marrying them to our modern technologies to make a holistic society, which is what our culture and our knowledge has always been. I hope you enjoyed and listening and learning from this conversation as much as I did. This is the first episode on our Indian knowledge system. As we build this series, I look forward to all of you sharing your thoughts, sharing your questions. And we're going to have some amazing guests like Dr. Patwardhan as we move forward. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and please be curious all the time. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Between Us podcast. The producer is Santosh Kumar, and the associate producer is Samyak Kamble. The Between Us podcast uploads episodes weekly, and we'll see you next time.